A viewer commented he was concerned as he believes that the God of the Bible had already selected whom he wants to save. This viewer lives in the constant fear that he may not be good enough to be one of these pre-selected individuals. Then this viewer quotes Romans 8:29-30, and it says, and I quote, "For whom he foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. Moreover, whom he predestined, these he also called. Whom he called, these he also justified. And whom he justified, these he also glorified." Now these two words, foreknew and predestined, has created this viewer's fears. Now at first glance, these words, foreknew and predestined, might appear to suggest that God had pre-selected individuals to go to heaven, leaving the rest excluded. But let me assure you to this viewer right now that God does not play favoritism. Paul in Romans indeed is not teaching this either. To properly understand Paul's meaning, we need to begin with the previous verse, Romans chapter 8, verse 28, which talks about a specific group of people, that is those who already love God and who are called according to his purpose. Now notice that this group is not pre-chosen by God. Instead, it consists of people who have accepted God's offer of salvation through Christ. Ultimately, the world will be divided into two groups: those who reject God and those who accept him and live in an intimate relationship with him, following his will. Now these two verses following verse 28 goes to describe God's plans for this group who has accepted Christ. Verses 29-30 goes to say that this group will be made right with God, which is justified, transformed to be like Christ, which is sanctified, and ultimately share his eternal glory, which is glorified. Now with this in mind, let us clarify the words that has caused this misunderstanding. The word foreknew. It doesn't mean that God pre-selected certain individuals ahead of time. See, in the Bible, the word to know, or the meaning to know, often refers to having a relationship. Look at Matthew 7:21-23. So foreknew speaks to God's relationship with those who chose him. As mentioned earlier, there are ultimately only two groups, the believers and the non-believers. And foreknew refers to God's intimate and his personal relationship with the believers because they have already responded to his offer. And the word predestined refers to the plan God has for those in the group that have chosen him. It means that God has determined that all who accepted Christ will participate in his grand plan. It is not about picking or pre-selecting certain people before they are born. It is about the destination of this group who came to faith. And you may ask, predestined for what? Well, verse 29 says and explains that this group is predestined to be conformed to the image of Christ, meaning God's plan is for this group, which are the believers, to become more like Christ in character and purpose, serving as a witness to the world, encouraging others around them to believe in him and to join his kingdom. So Romans chapter 8 verse 29-30 doesn't teach that God randomly pre-selects some people for heaven and leave others behind. Instead, it explains that for those who love God and respond to his calling, God has a beautiful plan. Now this opportunity to join the group and be part of God's plan is open to anyone. And I pray this viewer is watching this video today. Amen.